So, let's go to section 4, page 14. Somebody read number 1.
More spirits than tools.
Not spirits,
More
no.
spirits than tools.
Yeah, plenty of vodka and not many tools.
Present, non-conceptual.
Okay, so what that means is that doing it by the book, if you just read the instructions, may not work at all, right? If you get into the spirit of it, you can say pretty much whatever you like and it's going to work. Okay? So you want to be in the heart meditation, sitting in presence. The instructions are kind of a rough guideline, but you don't have to keep to them exactly. Okay. Number 2.
Ask questions that are in this moment.
So that's a very important thing. And particularly I think this may be something for you to watch, because I've noticed it's a little bit habit for you to use concepts. Right? And be very careful when you're guiding radical awakening not to speak to your client in any way conceptually. You see what I mean? Because as soon as you ask them a conceptual question, they will innocently go to the concepts to answer you, and then they're no longer here. So it's better to ask them, do you see my nose? What colour are my eyes? Than, do you believe you're connected with everything? You see what I mean? We want to stay away from concepts. Number 3.
We are not looking for the correct answer. Any answer is not it. Ask who is aware. The answer is no answer.
So here's the thing, see? If you say, so who are you? Go, I am absolute presence. Perfect. What is that? When they said, I am absolute presence, what is that? Who are you? I am absolute presence. What is that? I am absolute presence. What was that? I am absolute presence. What is that? It's a type of what?
Idea.
It's an idea, isn't it? Beautiful. It's an idea, a thought.
Right.
Beautiful. Good. I am absolute presence. Now, are you aware of that thought? Okay, so who's aware of the thought? You see? Very simple thing. Guides you right back immediately. The point we're making here, you see, is that when someone, if you ask somebody, well, who was experiencing this moment, if they give you a quick answer, right? We don't want to confuse the thought of absolute presence with absolute presence. See? Right? The point is that you can read spiritual books. You can read about absolute. You can read Eckhart Tolle and understand the power of now and absolute presence and I am consciousness, right? But as a thought, right, it does absolute diddly squat. See? You see what I mean? As a thought, it hasn't made the colours brighter, it hasn't created the energy, none of that's happened. It hasn't given you any freedom at all, it's just given you another thought. See? Now this is an important thing, because there are plenty of people wandering around who think of themselves as incredibly spiritual people, and they know all about Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie. All they've got is a bunch of thoughts. See? See that? And it doesn't make any difference at all. Right? You can even go beyond that. Is this making sense now? So important, see? Because you could ask somebody, who are you really? And they could go, wavy pink melange. Okay. Whoa, that's it. Right? You could ask somebody else. You could say, who are you really? Absolute, undivided, non-dual awareness. It's a thought. See? So we're not looking, this is the point here, we're not looking for the right words. We're looking for where the words are coming from. See the point? Do you see why it's important to focus on this? Because understanding this stuff is the booby prize. Right? You see what I mean? Understanding all this is like you're more frustrated than you were before if you understand it, right? You see what I mean? Because now you're feeling separate with an understanding of something that's not being experienced, right? That would be like being really hungry and having a really good image of food, right? I mean, I'd rather be hungry and not have the image of food. You know, it's kind of frustrating, right? Or like being really, or like, yeah, never mind. Okay. Okay, number 4. Having to censor myself here.
Create a spirit of sacredness can be the most important moment of someone's life.
Okay, now I want to just put that in context a little bit, because over the years, I've played with this, right? If you create too much of a spirit of sacredness, it gets to be it's what people sometimes call mood making. Do you know what I mean? So if you're going to give someone an awakening coaching session, right? And you've got crystals and special veil and incense, and you're creating this kind of special atmosphere, right? but it's somehow, it's artificial. See my point? So what's actually preferable is to create a sacred space in awareness. That's why I ask you to keep this room free of any business. So we don't talk, we don't, hey, you go to the store, we don't do that in here. We keep this kind of silent and clean, right? We don't leave a lot of stuff around. Like Chris would never leave his name tag on the floor, for example. No, we keep the place clean, silent, empty, alert. We don't put up, statues of Ganesh everywhere. And that's another, if you'll excuse me saying so, it's another way that people get confused. They think that by buying a lot of Indian artifacts, they've somehow become more awake. Right? See what I mean? Right? Or change your name to something exotic like Arjuna. And you think that somehow you've, dissolved suffering. Right? See what I mean? Is that making sense? Yeah. So we want to create sacredness through being very pleasant and clear, not through just changing the packaging. Are we all together?
Yes.
Make a very enthusiastic sound if you will.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Also make an Australian enthusiastic sound. She's going to give us lessons in enthusiasm. Okay, next one.
Inspired certainty.
Okay, good. So inspired certainty means that you walk into the session so absolutely unwaveringly clear that who you are is nothing and everything. And that's actually who your client is, no matter who they are. You've not even met the client, you know full well who they really are, right? So they don't stand a chance, you see. Now, does this make sense? Yeah? That's the, this is much more the art of the thing than, any kind of outward show. You just know in a relaxed way what's underneath the game. But also, I'm going to say this piece too, because this is where sometimes we can go a little bit too far in that direction. You also, hopefully, are fully aware of the suffering of being human. Okay? And that's where some of what you were sharing with me, what you've been through, can be incredibly helpful to be of service to people. If you've been through difficult experiences, then you meet people, you know completely, right, who they are, really, and you also are very familiar with all of the pain of loss and death and bankruptcy and false accusation and betrayal and all of the things that happen in life to everybody sooner or later. Yeah? Does this make sense?
Yes.
Let me tell you a little story about that. Can I do that?
Yes.
Please.
Okay. Come on. So, when I first met my teacher, Punjaji, I was 33 years old. And I was pretty much retired. I had made money in actually doing trainings on a large and successful scale. I made enough money actually in 3 years, combined with buying a house that doubled in value, that after 3 years of working hard, I could live the kind of life I wanted to live without having to work. Right? The invested money was enough to live off. So I was 33, and people used to say, oh, hi, I'm Dave, I'm a plumber, what do you do? Oh, I'm retired. I used to love saying that. I was 33, I was like, oh, I'm retired. God, people used to, I'm sure people wanted to kick my ass. But anyway, so I went off to meet my teacher, especially living in India now. There was, the interest I had on the money invested was enough to live for a year in India, right? See what I mean? So I was living in India. As far as I was concerned, I had it made. I could just spend the rest of my life meditating and being with Punjaji. It was great. And then I went there with my girlfriend, who I had no intention of, getting too serious with, because I wanted to live in this free way. But he started to say, if you're living together, you really should be married, because he was a traditional Indian man. So we get married, and every time he sees us, he starts going, and sooner or later, I don't know how it happened, but sooner she got pregnant. I don't know how that happened, but anyway. So now, I've got a wife and a child. So I start thinking to myself, oh my God, the money that I had invested was enough for me to live forever, without having to work. It's not enough to have a wife and raising a child, and besides which, you know, it's usually not such a great one child, better have two. You know? So I thought, oh my God. So what happened was, it's amazing when you're kind of ready to be suckered into something, life provides you the opportunity. So suddenly I was surrounded by people. This had never happened to me before. But suddenly out of the blue, I'm surrounded by people who, and let me just say one thing, before this happened, I was having the easiest time in the world resting in presence. I was living in India, right? Easy. Wake up in the morning, have a little breakfast in silence, walk like this to the satsang hall. I would just walk like this to go, you know, totally present, right? Go sit with Punjaji all morning, go home, have lunch. I had a servant, right? So lunch cooked by the servant, go have a nap, wake up, walk really slowly. Believe me, the colours were shimmering like you can't believe it. All the energy I needed. Boy, everything was fluorescent, you know. Walk really slowly over to Punjaji's house, have a cup of tea, maybe a little dinner. You know, I lived like that for a year, you know. No problem resting in presence. If people would come to India to be a little stressed out, and I would look down, oh, you're stressed out, I have no problem resting in presence. Because of course you can rest in presence, you've got nothing to do, right? Yeah? Okay, so then, as I said, my wife got pregnant, we moved back to America, and then suddenly I had this, now a desire comes, oh, you know, I've only got this much money, I need a lot more, now I need millions to be able to live off the interest. So suddenly out of the blue, all of these people who've never approached me before are suddenly saying, I've got this great deal. Right? This is the first company in the world to trade organic on the stock exchange. The first organic company, this is way before Whole Foods, first organic company on the stock exchange. By now it's going to split and, what's it called, you know, split and do all these different things, which I didn't understand. But you're going to, your money will just go through them. I think, great, yeah. So I start writing big checks. Another person had invented this boat, right? And it was a boat that when you switch it on, the whole boat lifts out of the water and just the propeller's left in the water. So it's kind of skimming above the water, right? Incredible, right? He signed a deal with Coca-Cola and Bic and, you know, huge international distribution. I had this deal I had to lend him some money for a year, and it was going to do this and that and this and that. So I thought, I don't want to be too, you know, naive here. So I diversified. I invested in 5 different things. Right? I was going to be a multi-millionaire. I mean, if only one of them had to succeed, I was going to be a multi-millionaire. All 5 went bankrupt. All 5. Right? So there I was now, wind forward. Now we've got the baby, right? And I'm broke. Not only I'm broke, I've got so used to being retired and not working, I'm like lost. Right? See what I mean? So that was like 1993. So the intervening years, 17 years now, have been quite consistently challenging. You know, I've raised 2 boys. You know, I never got a shot at that kind of state again, so I've been working and stuff. But what I can tell you is I'm much better equipped to support people in living awakening now than I was back then. You see what I mean? Now back then, the colours were much more shimmering, you know, everything was much more spacious, you know, I never felt any stress, but I couldn't help anybody because I didn't know how to deal with obstacles. Do you see what I mean? Right? See what I'm saying? I mean, you would think I was much more enlightened then. Because, you know, if you meet somebody who's like, looks good, right? But I tell you, when you face challenges in relationship, with money, with health, with parenting, and you face all those challenges, now you're in a position to actually help other people. Now you can actually be of some service.